Okay, so to create a Jack Daniels bottle, we first need an reference image, and you can find them on Google. Mine looks like this, but you just add them from this menu when you press Shift A and go to Image Reference. Then, because of its shape, we need to create a plane, and in Edit mode, we want to right click and subdivide by 4. And this is because you see up here it is not smooth. It is 8 faces. So we will be able to make a circle out of this later, and it will have 8 faces or edges. Then if we go out of edit mode and into object mode, we can move this up so it makes it easier for us. And then we select the plane and move it down, press G, then Z, and then we can press S to scale it down like this. And then in edit mode, press tab or press up here. Then we press E and move it up. If you don't see this blue line, press Z one time and it will snap in Z axis. I will do it like this, and then I will press A and S and scale it up like this. And now in the X-ray mode again, we can select by holding right click and GZ move it up. So what we want to do is we want to have these lines fit like this. So what we want to do now is this we want this face to go in and then out again here. So we will add a loop cut with Control R, right click, move it down, right click again, and then we will do the same like this. But instead of scaling it down right away, I will add another loop cut up here and then like this. So now when we have a loop cut down here that is aligned with this sort of edge here, and same on the top here, we can go into X-ray mode again, select faces, and then drag click like this, and then we can press S to scale it in. So now when we scale it in, we get this edge here, and then drag click, and then we want to scale up, and here we scale in, and then add a loop cut, Control R, and scale it. Down here I will add another loop cut like this, and then I will select all these faces like this and scale them in. So now we have something like a bottle, but the bottle here, we can see the edges are beveled. So we will go into edit mode and we will select this vertex. Then we will hold G to select all of them like this. Then we will press Shift, left click, and then Shift plus Control plus left click. And Shift, left click, Shift plus Control left click. And we will do the same here right now. And so like this, and then we can go into side view again, X-ray, and then we can bevel it like this. Right, we move to the top and we want to select these. And now with the help of a add-on called Loop Tools, it's free in the preferences. You can right click, Loop Tools, Circle, and then it creates a circle. So we can scale this up, and if we go into the top view, we see it's a little bit rotated. So we can press R, Z, and we can try to align it. So we scale this circle up so it's as big as possible. Then we extrude it upwards, scale it, up like this. Then we extrude and scale it down again. Then we just press E, up, S to scale, then E to scale down again. And with this one, we can press Alt left click and then Control B to bevel and then scroll your mouse wheel a few times. So now we have this smooth line here. And then we can drag click like this and then extrude up, scale, extrude, scale inwards, and do the same kind of things like this. So now we have a bottle, we have the beveled edges, but we do not have a smooth finish, so we will shade auto smooth. But now our 8-sided face up here disappears. So if you go to modifiers and go to this shade smooth by angle modifier, we can change this to something like 10 and we will get this back. But you see, the reason why we have this is because if we unselect this, for example, and shade flat, we will see that we have some lines on the horizontal lines like this. So if we shade auto smooth and have this to 10, those disappears, but we still have these vertical lines. But we do not want these vertical lines to be up here. So what we can do is we can select these edges or press 2. Then we can press Alt, Control, left click, and we can select the vertices, sorry, the edges around like this. And then we do the same, Control, Alt, Shift, this time left click, because if we just press Control, Alt, left click, we remove those selected ones. So we want to press Shift, Control, Alt, left click. So right now, when we have these selected, we can press Control B and we can scale it up like this. So now when we go out of edit mode, we have a smooth finish. We can also add a bottom face like this. So select this. Before we do that, we can create an inserted face like this and just select those and press I. And then we can select these faces and then loop tools, circle, scale it up, and then move it up, and then select these edges and then bevel it. Now we have this problem again. We can move this down a little if we think it's a weird shading. We can also scale this up as like that. Then we want to add the top thing because we can just add a texture to this, but I like to make it a separate object. Then we want to add a, what do you call this, etiquette or paper around the bottle. So if we're going to edit mode and X-ray mode and select faces, we can drag click like this, and then we can press Shift D like this, right click, and then press P selection. And then if you go out of edit mode and select this new thing, we can right click first, set origin to center of mass, and then scale it up like this. So now this is its own object. You see, we have a little line down here. And we will do the same on this one for the paper. But now because we don't have any lines here that match, We will add a loop cut, Control R, move it down like this, and do the same up here. I see now that these lines do not match, so I will drag click and move this up a little bit. Like that. Okay, now when we drag click and press Shift D, right click P, we get our new object like this. Then we can right click, center of mass, then S and Shift to scale it very slowly. Right now we have our two things and we can rename this. I will rename this to paper and this top and also bottle. So right now we have the things we need, but we also need our textures. So we will select the bottle. Okay, in here, transmission, we will turn it up to 1. The roughness I will set to 0. And we can add a bit of sheen and turn this down. And we can turn this roughness to something like this. But we don't see anything, so we will go into this shader viewport and we will change from Eevee to cycles. So right now we see we have some glass texture, but we don't have any lights in this scene, so we need to either add lights or we can add a environment texture, an HDRI, and these HDRIs you can find on Polyheaven or other websites. So if you have Node Wrangler enabled, you can just press on this background and press Ctrl T, and that Node Wrangler is also a free add-on you can find under Preferences. And in here I will select my HDRI, and if you want the same kind of HDRI, this is what the HDRI is looking like. So behind the glass bottle, I will add a backplane and I will scale it up and move it back. Also, to make it easier for my computer, I will change some settings like this, because this is our viewport settings and these are render settings, so these will not affect each other. I will also, in object mode, press Ctrl B and drag click like this, and this will make it so anything in this box will render and everything outside the box will not render, and it will make it much easier for my computer. So if I select the top and make a new material called top, I will also make it black and I will turn up the metallic and turn down the roughness. So now it will reflect some light. And if we turn this down even more, we can play along with the settings. You can add sheen to it if you want to. I usually do it to add some kind of realistic look. If you want to, if you're in a later version of Blender, you can also add this coat, but I'm not gonna do that. And for the thing here, we will just add the top material, and we will later on add a texture to this, but we will work on the glass a little bit more. So, because if we look at the reference, we can see that it looks a bit yellow, and that is because of the liquid. Because if we go down here, we can actually see that the glass is transparent. It doesn't have any color, so it looks perfect like this. But as we also can see, it's very smooth. And if we look at our bottle, it's not very smooth. So we will go to the modifiers and we will add a bevel modifier. And we will add some segments like 10. And then we can turn this amount up a little bit. And we can change the angle, something like that. So if we have the bevel modifier under the smooth by angle and change the angle of this, we can get some smooth We can get some smoothness here, but still have these lines here. So I set this to 15. I think it looks okay. But a glass bottle usually don't have one face. So if we select these two and unselect them in this eye, we will now create a inner face of this glass bottle. So before we start making an inside, I forgot I had to bevel this like this. So now we have a smooth finish like this. Then we can go into edit mode, press A, Shift D, right click, and then press S to scale it in. And then we can move it down. And then we can press S, Z to scale it up. And now we can just try to fit this as perfect as we can inside the bottle. Something like this. I'm quite satisfied with this. So for the inside, we will add another glass shader or texture because we don't necessarily need a liquid inside the bottle. We can just fake the liquid inside by having the inside of the bottle another color than the outside of the bottle. So right now the whole glass bottle is one glass material, but if we copy this one, new material, like this, we get material 2, we assign it, then now because we only have one material for the whole bottle, we will add our first material and then press Ctrl I to select the outer edge and then assign that one. So right now, if we go into this render viewport, nothing will really happen. But if we select this second material and change the color, we can see that now we see here that the outside material, if we turn this blue, so now we see it very easily that the outside material here is another color than the inside. So if we turn this down back to white again, it will look realistic. Okay, but now to render this, we need a camera. So I will select this up here or press numpad 1. Then I will add a camera. Then I will press Control Alt numpad 0. And in this little tab here, I will select the X location and press 0. And in this output, I will change it to 1920 by 1920. Then I will press G, Z, Z to move it closer. Then I can move it down, press G, Z, then G, Z, Z to move it like this. Something like this. And then if you want to, you can also press R, X and move it down a little so you get that realistic top view look. Right now we will press Ctrl B and drag click to only render the camera. So right now we have a bottle that is looking very good. We are missing the label and some minor adjustments. So for this material, I will unselect it and create a new material called label. And you of course need to find the label on Google, but you just have to search for Jack Daniels label and you will be able to find that is perfect. So in this green little box here, we can press Ctrl T with the help of Node Wrangler again, and then press open and select your label. Then in this front view, so if I drag click like this, make sure to not have X-ray mode enabled. You press U, unwrap, go to UV editor, and you will see this here. You can drag click again, press G, Y, move it up, and then you can press G, S, Y to scale it in Y-axis, and then you can just fit it as good as possible. So right now we have something like this, and because I'm not gonna have the back and the sides visible, I'm not gonna really care about them. But if you do, you can select in edit mode. You can select with X-ray mode like this. Then you can unwrap, and then you can press A, S in the UV editor, scale it down to just being black. Or if you have another texture, you can add another texture like this, and then in here you can add your other label texture. So right now we have something that looks very good, but I don't want how this looks like grayed out, so I will add some metallic look to it and also turn up the roughness a bit. And for the backplane, I will add metallic to 1 and also roughness to 1, and I will turn this up to white. So right now we have something that is looking kinda good. It's a Jack Daniels bottle, and everyone who looks at this will probably don't think anything of it. So right now we can change these settings a little bit. We can play around with the lighting like this. And then if you don't want to have this backplane, you can of course unselect it. And in this film section, we can select transparency or transparent. So right now the whole background is transparent. So if we go to this tab here and select PNG, you will have a file that is transparent. So right now there is only a few things that I want to add, and that are some imperfections in the glass. So I will go back to the shader editor and select our material 1, and in here I want to add a bump to the normal, and from this height I want to add a noise texture, and just if you don't know how to search for them, just press Shift A and search up here. And then the strength we will turn down quite much. So in here we will see now what it does, and I will turn this down just a little bit. So now with these settings we have some minor imperfections in the glass, and it makes it looks very, very good. I also want to show you this. This is another Jack Daniels bottle that I did before, and in here you can see these settings. I will not go through them exactly, but you can see them here. I have first smooth by angle, bevel, subdivision surface, and I added them on this bottle, and I will also go into edit mode so you can see more in detail. And up here, these red parts, they are marked as seam or marked sharp, so they stay sharp like this. So those are a few settings that I added, and you get a much smoother finish to it. That's about it. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please give it a like and also subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.